Is a piece of mail that could not only be disruptive, but potentially deadly. Illicit drugs have fundamentally changed over recent years to include synthetic sprays and strips, which are easily added to paper and concealed in mail, end quote. Mail can be sprayed, soaked, or in some way treated with an illicit drug and then sent on its way, often with only the sender and the recipient aware of it. That's problematic anywhere, but perhaps even more so in places where limiting contraband is a priority. But legal correspondence between an attorney and an inmate had a different set of rules. With that kind of mail, the inmate got the original documents, and MDOC has discovered sometimes they got more than just that. Paper treated with illicit drugs making their way behind bars via the mail, often being sent by people posing as attorneys or using fake confidential.
We should not have a price tag on our life for you to fund, a life-saving program that scans every piece of mail coming into the prison for drugs. And keep in mind, I want people in the public to understand this. This same mail that's laced with drugs are going through our post office. What happens if that mail goes to a local school? Those drugs, the same thing that's happened to staff at Thomson, are going to happen to a local school.
Using the mail system to smuggle drugs inside.
Investigative reporter Lourdes Duarte gets rare access inside the jail as crews search for contraband.
Right now, there are 11 pending autopsies that jail administrators think could be linked to drugs being mailed into the facility. This all started about a year and a half ago when staff at the jail noticed letters and books being used by detainees to get high. Now, a surge in overdose incidents unlike any they've seen before. We told you about the problem 3 months ago. Letters and books sprayed with synthetic drugs are making their way into the jail through the mail system. WGN Investigates obtained some of the correspondence that shows the planning that's going into this. This letter comes with a drawing and a note that says instead of putting it on the sheet, put it on the envelope. They're referring to where the synthetic drugs should be sprayed. Another note includes a recipe detailing a combination of chemicals to use.
So something like this, this just looks like paper.
Right. So if you were to pull this out of the evidence bag, you can kind of see in here where there's a saturation or a stain in the middle.
If any of this gets inside, detainees stand to make money too. A single sheet soaked in chemicals can generate as much as $1,000, but lead to a deadly high.
And recent months, that exposures at Thomson, 23 staff members have been transported to the hospital. One of the staff members today was given Narcan twice and then transported out to the hospital.
We've got an issue in this country that we have to figure out. Law enforcement shouldn't be dropping like flies like this today. We very easily could have had correctional officers here at Thomson die. This is the worst situation that has happened here with respect to drugs coming through the mail that we have ever seen. And so doing nothing is not an option anymore. And so Congress now has to act because we have the bipartisan legislation. And so now let's do what we need to do to keep people safe. You can't just say that you're pro-police and you're pro-law enforcement. You have to do something to show your work. This is legislation that we're going to work on now to make sure we get it across the finish line so that we don't have a problem like this in the future.
Hours ago, a worker at the Thomson Federal Prison was taken to the hospital after he started throwing up and passed out in the mailroom. He was exposed to drugs sent through the prison mail, and this is the 8th time this has happened in just the last 6 months. Union leaders say they've had enough. KWQC's Kate Kobadich explains the steps they want to take to keep their workers safe. Kate.
Republicans and Democrats don't agree on much these days, but they do agree on this reform. I talked to John Zumker, the union leader for the workers at Thomson Prison, and he says the way to keep people safe is moving the mail sorting off-site. This way drugs stay out of prison and, more importantly...
And that's like our priorities. Again, we work in a federal prison. We're federal law enforcement, and we're just asking to stop the attacks on law enforcement and support us and start testing the mail for drugs. Start, jamming the signal for cell phones. That's what we're asking for.